Wyman played a crucial yet understated role in shaping the group's iconic sound. Now, after years of silence, Wyman is stepping out from behind the curtain to share his side of the story. A revealing look at the complex and at times turbulent relationship with his famous bandmate. Behind Jagger's dazzling smile and commanding stage presence, Wyman suggests, was a man driven by unrelenting ambition and a powerful ego. These qualities, while instrumental in propelling the Rolling Stones to global stardom, also created deep rifts within the group. How could a musical genius like Jagger lead the band to unprecedented heights while simultaneously fostering quiet tensions among those closest to him? And what pushed Wyman, the reliable backbone of the band, to feel more like a pawn in Jagger's grand vision than an equal partner? As we peel back the layers of fame, Wyman's emotional journey comes to light. The glimmer of stardom, it seems, not only blinds the public, but also conceals the internal pain, sacrifices, and conflicts behind the scenes. Despite anchoring timeless hits like Satisfaction, Painted Black, and Gimme Shelter, Wyman felt consistently overlooked. While MC Jagger and Keith Richards dominated the limelight, Wyman remained in the background, quietly holding the rhythm together. In interviews, Wyman has revealed how his input was often dismissed, particularly by Jagger. "He didn't ask for my opinion," Wyman once stated. "Things were already decided before I had the chance to speak." To him, Jagger's commanding leadership style often crossed into authoritarianism. From song selections and arrangements to marketing strategies, major decisions were made with little collaboration. According to Wyman, this top-down approach alienated him and over time caused a rift that could never quite be repaired. Bill Wyman often felt excluded and undervalued during his time with the Rolling Stones, largely due to MC Jagger's absolute control over the band. According to Wyman, Jagger didn't treat the other members as creative partners, but rather as employees expected to follow orders. When Wyman tried to offer ideas or suggestions, he was frequently dismissed, leading him to question whether he was still a true part of the band or just a bassist playing on command. His sense of alienation wasn't only about lacking input. It was also about recognition. Despite the collective effort that fueled the Rolling Stones' success, Jagger often took the spotlight with credit and praise disproportionately directed toward him. In interviews, Jagger would sometimes speak of the band as if it were his solo project, leaving Wyman and others feeling more like background players than equal contributors. This imbalance stifled creativity and created long-standing internal tensions. Wyman believed the band could have reached even greater heights if Jagger had been more open to collaboration and respectful of others' opinions. These frustrations eventually pushed Wyman to leave the group in the early 1990s. While the Rolling Stones continued without him, he felt the band's original collaborative spirit was lost. Though Wyman rarely voiced criticism, when he did, it reflected the deep frustration of someone who had devoted much of his life to a group where he never felt fully acknowledged. His experiences highlight not only the brilliance of MC Jagger, but also the hidden fractures that existed within one of the most iconic bands in music history, a group shaped as much by personal ambition as by musical genius. The dynamic between MC Jagger and Keith Richards, though creatively powerful, often came at the cost of the Rolling Stones' collective spirit. While bassist Bill Wyman reportedly felt more like an employee than a true bandmate, the real source of tension was the constant clash of egos between Jagger and Richards. These two co-founders were polar opposites. Richards brought raw emotion, spontaneity, and a rebellious guitar style that gave the Stones their rock and roll soul. While Jagger's strategic mind and tight control helped transform the group into a global music empire, their differences created some of the band's most iconic tracks, Satisfaction, Jumpin' Jack Flash, and Sympathy for the Devil, but also sowed the seed. By the 1980s, their relationship began to unravel as Jagger shifted focus to solo ventures, which Richards viewed as a betrayal of the band's unity. For Richards, the Stones were a family, a shared mission. But Jagger's increasing detachment deepened the divide. Tensions came to a head during the recording of the 1986 Dirty Work album. Jagger, often absent and visibly disinterested, only contributed when absolutely necessary, leaving Richards to shoulder most of the responsibilities from writing to leading the sessions. When Jagger did participate, his desire for control often sparked fiery confrontations. The studio environment became toxic, with producers and band members describing it as stifling and combative. Richards, who passionately defended the idea of the Stones as a unified band, didn't hold back in criticizing Jagger, accusing him of selfishness. The fractured collaboration was reflected in the final product. Dirty Work stood not only as an album, but as a symbol of the strained relationship that nearly tore the Rolling Stones apart. The album, though achieving moderate commercial success, received mixed reactions from both critics and fans, many of whom pointed out a lack of cohesion in the band's sound. It soon came to symbolize the deep internal discord within the group, where personal tensions had overshadowed the unity that once defined their strength. The fallout went beyond music. It severely strained the relationship between Mick Jagger and Keith Richards. Richards later admitted that during this time, he and Jagger could barely communicate outside of work. The 1980s marked a particularly low point in their collaboration with little hope of reconciliation. Ironically, it was these very conflicts that pushed both men to reflect and eventually rebuild their partnership, enabling the Rolling Stones to survive and thrive for decades to come. Despite their many clashes, Jagger and Richards remain one of the most legendary creative duos in music history. Their bond, both a source of powerful inspiration and painful division, proves that great art often emerges from unavoidable tension. The album Dirty Work was more than just a musical release. It encapsulated a period of deep personal and creative strife, reflecting the struggle between individual egos and collective identity, a pivotal chapter in the Rolling Stones' enduring legacy. But Jagger's contentious dynamic wasn't limited to Richards or bassist Bill Wyman. Even Charlie Watts, the band's steadfast and reserved drummer, was affected. Known for his discipline, composure, and role as the group's emotional anchor, Watts helped the band stay grounded through decades of chaos. However, Jagger's increasing control over the band's direction occasionally left Watts feeling confined and overlooked. Though he rarely voiced his frustrations publicly and preferred to focus on the music, those close to the group revealed that he was not entirely content with Jagger's management style, especially when it extended beyond creative decisions and began affecting the dynamics of how each member contributed. Charlie Watts was known for his quiet professionalism. But working with MC Jagger wasn't always easy. Jagger often demanded perfection, setting strict standards that sometimes left Watts feeling untrusted, even though he consistently delivered exceptional performances. A particularly tense moment came in the 1980s when Jagger casually referred to him as "my drummer" in a conversation with Keith Richards. While the remark may not have been intentionally dismissive, it touched a nerve for Watts, who had always viewed himself as an equal member of the Rolling Stones. According to Richards, Watts responded with uncharacteristic anger, firmly correcting Jagger and making it clear he wouldn't tolerate being minimized. Despite his loyalty to the band, Watts often distanced himself from its internal drama. He had little interest in power struggles or unilateral decisions, especially those made by Jagger. Instead of arguing, Watts would often express his dissatisfaction in subtle yet powerful ways, most notably through prolonged silence during particularly strained times. Even so, he never let personal grievances interfere with his playing. His consistent professionalism earned him deep respect, even from Jagger, and solidified his role as a steadying force within the band.